spawning on the same ship on the same team, then I'd still only see. Anyways, I'm sharing my screen, I think. So,
I'm sharing mine as well, so you can
because
see.
what I was gonna say is that I have my laptop open. I could just watch. I do keep the Twitch stream open so I could see what kind of shots people are doing, but granted, it's like a
You're
few
looking at
seconds
the
behind.
British shit.
Hello, my name is Lemerk, and it is
I'm
my
trying
pleasure to
to
welcome
get
you
the
to
same
Season 2 of
angle.
the Naval Sports League. The NSL is the
Right,
premier
as a
competitive
reminder,
league in
I'm
holdfast
gonna check
age of
the audio
sail.
on it.
The NSL is the proving ground of greatness for holdfast's most experienced and accomplished sailors, officers, and captains. Battles take place on various maps with unpredictable wind conditions, forcing teams to plan for the best but adapt to the worst as the whims of fortune demand. We are especially excited this season for the many new features Holdfast has given us in the new Age of Sail update, adding incredible mechanics like boarding and ship capture and captain commands. We have included almost every new feature Anvil Game Studios has given us in this new update, though even with all these new dimensions to the game, the path to victory in the NSL remains the same as ever. A team wins the match in the NSL by sinking or capturing all the opponent's largest ships, the heavy, powerful 17-gun brigs and the lighter, more maneuverable 8-gun schooners. These are what we call the capital ships of the NSL, and once they are all sunk or stolen, the battle immediately ends. Each team has 35 minutes to complete this mission, and if the timer concludes before either team can completely defeat the other, then the team which has the most capital ships remaining under their control wins the battle. If both teams have the same amount of capital ships, the tie is decided in favor of whoever has the highest overall point score. There are 8 teams competing this year, some returning, some newly formed. All of them have the same goal, to put together a record of victories in their battles to make it into the top 4 teams of the league. Only the top 4 teams will have a chance to compete for the Champions Prize, which is determined by a 2-week tournament among those top 4 teams, which will take place after the regular season ends. I want to thank you for joining us today, and I hope the league can inspire you to pick up Holdfast yourself, jump on a ship, and learn the art of sailing as we all have. Perhaps one day you too will compete in the Naval Sports League and burn bright in the fires of competition. The pregame coverage will begin shortly. I wish all the teams the best of luck, and I'm confident they will put on a tremendous show of courage and bravery for you to enjoy. So stick around and see what happens here at the Naval Sports League.
Hello, this is Emmett, and welcome to the Naval Sports League. This is week 4, the Leviathans versus Beavers. Joining me today is my friend and veteran co-host, Kieran's. Kieran, say hello.
Hello there.
So today we've got an exciting matchup. Today, if Kieran's, could you please tell me which team you're going to be tracking for us?
I'm going to be tracking the renowned, the famous, the Leviathans.
Indeed, indeed. And today I will be tracking the Beavers, a somewhat new team, but with foundations that go back multiple seasons. So today we're going to take a quick look first at the league standings and see where everybody is looking. What it's looking like. So right at the top there, we see. Uh, no thanks to you, the Marines are right at the top there. Points difference. We've got 1-0 record for all the teams who have won a match, and a 0-1 for those at the bottom who have not yet won a match. It's the first. It's the final week where we're going to determine we're going to see all of the teams have played their matches and then proceed into the next phase of the league. So just to explain for those who aren't really aware, uh, what that points difference is looking like and what that uh, entails. So we've got the win loss record. That's really what's going to determine the placements in the standings later on in the league. But the points difference does come into play once we have a tie between some of these teams. So right now we can see the Marines, Krakens, Hydras, they all have a 1-0 record, and that is what is allowing them to be up the top. And but the standings are dependent on the amount of points that are listed there. So today we've got the Leviathans versus the Beavers. You were tracking the Leviathans today, Kirans. Do you want to give me a quick overview of how they've developed over the past few months? We've just had the Age of Sail update come out recently. So, is there anything that they have to prove as what was previously considered the best team in the community?
Well, yeah, I think the Leviathans, they came into the pubs very strong, into the events very strong, and as we all know, they've obviously been a very strong contender in the NSL in all the previous seasons. I say strong contender, the winners. So yes, I think that they're going to do equally as good in this season as well. I think it's going to be a really exciting game just to see a pretty brand new team going up against a titan of a team. It's really exciting.
That's great to hear, of course. And on the flip side, we've got the Beavers. And if you're seeing that logo and it seems familiar to you, that is because it is actually comprised of an older veteran team headed up by Charlie Lees of the 9PP. But we've also had a couple of recent developments over the past couple of days, some new information. I had a bit of a pre-match, I don't want to say interview, but fact-finding mission with a couple of the folks over from the Beavers, and I've since learned that the 23rd, Matthew, who's one of the vice admirals for this team, has merged his regiment with the 70th, and they are now a team that, so far as he is aware, participates regularly in naval weekly events, and they seem to be self-proclaimed highly experienced and winners. So I expect to see that there is going to be some additional um, morale coming out of that group today. Joining the 9PP and the 70th, we also have the 92nd Regiment, another land based regiment. And so far as I'm aware and have been told, not too much experience in terms of naval, but they are dedicated to the cause. So that is great to see. And then finally, we also have the IR1, another group that we don't have a lot of information about. But I just wanted to call attention to those new member regiments uh, led by the uh, led by the group that is going to be um, challenging the Leviathans for the right to call themselves victors, which is a very tough thing to do in the previous seasons. But this is almost a whole new type of game. So it's going to be great to see what kind of old strategies and new strategies Charney, who I believe is their admiral, will be doing. Okay, so uh, do you have any additional comments you want to make before we proceed into looking at the map?
No, I think we should take a look at the map now. It's looking like it's going to be a really nice matchup for the teams and the map itself. I just said before the stream, and I wondered if anyone else noticed, this map looks awfully like a an anchor.
Yeah, you
I
had
don't know.
remarked to me about that earlier, and I hadn't even, subconsciously I'd thought about that, but um, yeah. So, anyways, do you want to give me a quick rundown of how you think the Leviathan is going to go about approaching this battle?
I think that they'll take advantage of the gap in the middle, but they won't be there the whole game. As you know, the Leviathans are a very versatile team, and I think they'll use the islands, the chain of islands, to their advantage where they can. And I think if anything, they're gonna try and um, put on a show of prowess, naval prowess for the spectators and for their foes. And so I think they'll probably take the fight straight to the middle and then see if they can lure the Beavers into a false sense of security some way or another.
And you think that's going to give them the edge to take this match?
I think it will. I think there's a chance for the Beavers to want to prove themselves as a strong contending team in the NSL. But I think the Leviathans, it's almost like they know how good they are. They know their strengths, their weaknesses, if any. I'm not sure if we've managed to find a kryptonite in the Leviathans yet, but yeah, I think it's going to give them a big advantage using this map, especially.
That's good. I should also note that if you're looking at this map, the wind is completely neutral to both teams. It's moving west. That's actually great because, well, for both teams, it's great because nobody in particular is stuck doing going through one channel or another. And we do see that these traditional pill-shaped islands are often the make or break moments for each team or certain teams. It depends on their experience. Now, talking about the Beavers and their strategy, I couldn't tell you what they're going to do right off the bat, but I can tell you a little bit about the temperament of their leader, Kieran's veteran admiral. He's been in all season of the NSL so far. His style tends to be, as far as I've observed over the past couple of years, his team, the previous team, was called the Jackals of the Baltic Sea. It's using a very similar logo. So I have to assume that with Kieran's at the head, or sorry, excuse me, Charney at the head, he will be doing a similar approach of they tend to move out very nicely towards the center of the map, and then they will sometimes change their strategy based on what their enemy is doing, rather than sticking to the guns that some other admirals might do. Now, Charney likes to get in close. He himself is a self-proclaimed beaver, as we call it, the namesake of their team, where carpenters will get in close, they'll chop down masts, they'll make a mess of everything, even a mess of their own formation when they didn't particularly expect to do that. Um, I do hope to see some of that aggression today because that's what we've seen the Leviathans in the past have tend to possibly break down a little bit and have a bit more trouble with dealing with their opponent. So with that, I believe that the match is about to get started. We're just going to wait for that to happen here. So momentarily, we should be looking at the actual live map itself. Okay, so with all that being said, Kirans, I know you are an admiral. Congratulations to your win last week. Um,
Thank you.
what we saw on the leaderboard earlier was we saw one of the greatest points difference in terms of two teams in a match at the end of that one. It's a very interesting thing to see because the way that we look at points this season is going to be very different than the way that we compare it in last season. This season, you have the ability to repair your ship. You have the ability to use captain orders to affect more points. This is the kind of thing that we're looking at because these are the things that give you an edge over your enemy. If you're using these things and they're not using it, how does that affect your ability um, to change the dynamic that previously did not exist in season one?
I think you're right there. I think that especially if you're not taking away, from the match itself, um, I think every team when they play their first match, like us last week, we learn a lot from it, and it's not so much as can we do the formations better or is our gunnery and tactics how can we ensure our victory carries on through to the next team, and you've really got to adapt your play style to each team. As you said, the Beavers, they're renowned for their carpentry work and really demasting a lot of the ships. But trying to counter that isn't going to work with every team, and I think the Beavers are going to play to their own strengths, and the Leviathans are going to play to their strengths as well. I think the chink in the armor for the Leviathans might be that, if the Beavers can get up close, they start demasting ships, it could cause a little bit of confusion for the Leviathans.
Agreed, agreed. And but there's also other things to think about now that the carpenter is the role or class that is able to do the most repairing on a ship. It's such a stark difference compared to the normal sailors who also have the ability to repair portions of their ship, but at a much slower pace. And that often is the difference between getting a capital ship back into battle as soon as possible and being able to take that fight back to the enemy in crucial moments where your friendlies would not be able to get the support they needed. And I saw this done very well by the Marines last week with you guys. Um, but we are looking at a start here. We are on the live map, as we can see. Um, Once we get going, I'm going to have you explain the formation that the Leviathans are taking out, and
Yeah.
I will follow that up with the general stance and posture of the Beavers. So we've got about 5 seconds till start here. But I do agree, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting thing. The Leviathans have only been beaten one time ever in this league, and that was by the Hydras back when they were called the SCP-38. That was towards the end of season 1, and, that was just I don't know if it was hubris or if it was just a bit of a disorganization, maybe a little bit of both. I'd have to go back and check the interview, but we are now beginning, so go ahead and tell me about the initial formation for the Leviathans.
Well, I think it's too early to say the type of formation that they're going for, but off the bat, they're having their three 8-gun schooners and their 8-gun corvette leading from the front, and their 17 guns are sort of slowly behind. But they've not got anything spectacular just yet. I know that the Leviathans, they love going full abreast at the start, and they
Yes, sir.
tend to maintain a very good fleet cohesion throughout. I wonder how the Beavers will approach the use of the short range corvette in this match. Do you think they'll utilize it?
That's a great question because we've seen a bit of an issue. I don't want to say issue, but a bit of lack of understanding of how that ship is to be used properly. It's very early on in the league. There's many more matches to come, but it seems like these teams are still trying to figure out what the best way to do that is. Now, coming out of spawn, it looks like the Beavers are potentially going for two different formations or two separate formations, but keeping them quite close to each other. They are going against the wind and holding position near the island. It seems to be, at least to me, that they're going for a more defensive formation. They're going to wait for the Leviathans to come in and potentially spring a trap on them. And something else I wanted to point out is that their two larger capital ships, the 17 gun ships, are off to their west. So maybe that might be used as a way to block any formations from the Leviathans from running aggressively to the west and using their smaller 8-gun ships, which are great at boarding, to cause a mess. But as of right now, we see that their Corvette, which is great at doing a lot of damage right up close, but it doesn't survive very long on its own. It is currently hiding, and I don't know if that is going to be a strategy for them to send in both of their gunboats. How are we looking on your end?
Well, the Leviathans did manage to get a nice fleet formation going. I apologize to the viewers. I'm no naval enthusiast, despite having a naval regiment. But the formation looks fantastic.
It
They've got
does.
the
It's beautiful.
three 8-gun schooners at the front, followed by the two 17-gun, and they're sort of staggered between each of the 8 guns. And then the corvette and the boats are very close to the 17 guns. I like this. It's like they're trying to keep a strong backline defense with the corvette and the 17 guns. And now they're turning into the wind now and going west southwest. And it looks like the Beavers are still charging down the same method as you said earlier. They've got one of their I think it's their corvette hiding behind an island.
That's right. This is definitely an interesting way of doing things. The Leviathans look like they're going to try to get those 17 guns as close as possible. Then what might happen is that they're going to turn those 8 guns back directly towards the south and then push to see if the bait will be taken. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I know that the cannon range is much shorter on these ships than they were prior to the Age of Sail update, and these two teams, I should say, are quite far away from each other.
Yeah,
So I would have expected the uh, 17 guns to go in a little bit more ahead past that island to their southwest, and set up the 17 guns to do a bit of a kind of Overwatch while the 8 guns move towards the enemy because the Beavers have honestly, I'm a little surprised they have not moved out a little bit more. But I do. This is reminiscent of a match that I played against the Jackals, the precursors to this team last year, where they held just outside of their spawn and would not move until their opponent moved.
yeah.
But we may see
Uh,
some impatience here.
so both teams playing a little bit defensively and weighing up what each team's going to do. I was just wondering, Amit, is there any interesting names of the ships on the Beavers?
That's a great question to ask. We've got a couple of ships. The lead 8 gun there on their right flank is called the Aquaholic, a great name, followed by Highlander's Pride and Remnant's Revenge. And the two 17 guns, we've got Stalls de Dano, I hope I pronounced that right, and followed by the Royal Goat. Great name.
I like it. I think this is a really fun part of the NSL, isn't it? Getting to name your ships.
Critically, I did forget to mention the name of their Corvette, which is the Holy Jurgen.
Oh.
How's it looking on that side, though?
Some very pirate-esque names here. We've got the Sextant, the Salmonella, the Closed Coffin, the Sovereign, very strong name, the Anarchy, Nemo's Ghost, Grease Fire, and Tail Chaser.
You're absolutely right about those names. And we've just seen the first shots start to come out. Um, I think the initial wind is probably still to the west. So these teams are definitely pointing against the wind, but as we know through the Age of Sail update, it's not as affecting the sails. These ships are very maneuverable and very nimble compared to um, what they were prior to the update. But these ships are definitely looking like they're about to be in range, at least the ones at the front of each formation. Uh, what does the Leviathans, which target do you think they're going to prioritize? Like, what is their plan here?
I think disrupt their current line and see where they can find a weakness in it. If I was calling the shots here, I'd be having all ships target one of their 17 guns initially if it was in range. But other than that, trying to get one of the 8 guns to come forward and get in range of the Leviathan's 8 guns, and then we'll see some rounds go
Mhm.
down the field.
Funny enough, we actually do kind of see a mirroring of these two groups. You've got three 8 gun schooners at the front, the two 17 guns at the rear. The only main difference is that that Corvette is lagging behind on the Beaver side. Now, what we've seen in the past from the Leviathans is that they like to hammer and anvil the crap out of their opponents. So,
Yeah,
initially, I thought when those 17 guns from the Leviathans slowed down there, I thought they may have wanted to come into the rear, potentially hit the rear of the Beaver 17 guns. Don't know if that's still going to happen, but it's very, very kind of touchy feely between these two groups here. And we are seeing the first shots land onto the Beavers from the 8 gun schooners of the Leviathans.
yeah. It looks like there was some really good shots from the Leviathans onto the Vanguard 8 gun for the Beavers, and they're both sort of exchanging shots, but nothing too major right now. No big health differences, but things can change so quickly. The ships have an increased speed buff when they wet their sails, and some of these 8 guns they could turn in very quickly, wet the sails, and they get a massive advantage to their speed. Even if you're going, if you're going
Against the wind,
against the
yeah.
wind, yeah.
It's absolutely incredible what these ships can do now. I'm sure the audience have seen how some of these ships have turned on a dime even when they've stopped. It's very quick compared to how it used to be, especially if any of you guys are watching this and have not played the update. It is staggering how easily, and this is a common theme, we've talked about this over the past few streams, how quickly these ships can get in and out of danger. They can get in, engage, and if things are not going well, they can get out very quickly. So right now we've got a lot of action happening between the two 17 guns at the rear here. How's the HP looking for the Leviathans right now?
I'm not noticing any HP losses on any of the ships right now. I'm worried it's bugged. You know, I don't trust the HPs, and I'm worried that there's a bug somewhere. But there's no damage off of any ship right now, not that I can see. But they're at the dreaded wall, and I call it the dreaded wall because I personally hate being at the wall. I feel like you're really put against the wall, and your options are very limited. Whether you go hard to starboard, hard to port, it's never a good thing really when you're in this sort of formation.
So what we're seeing from HP on the Beaver side is I don't think the HPs are bugged. I just don't see a lot of target concentration from them. There's a lot of differing changes of targets. The Aquaholic is getting absolutely blasted here, and the Stalls de Dano by Captain by Schnitzel is getting beaten up by those 17 guns. They're really trying to target focus that one. If you take a quick look at it, you can see the front section of the ship is already massively taken damage, but their carronade is still up, so it should be able to do some work should any ships get closer in. We do have some action going on at the rear between the two corvettes. You want to tell me what's going on there?
Well, it looks like the Beavers gunboats are going straight in and trying to target the Corvette, but having the Corvette on the rear guard is especially helpful to try and deter these gunboats from moving in on the main fleet. You know, they don't have the opportunity to just quickly turn around and start engaging the gunboats. They're relying on their own gunboats and their own Corvette to combat any of the sort of flanking vessels, and I like what the Beavers have done here. They've took the initiative. They've started targeting the Corvette where they can, but the Leviathans have their two boats in chase right now, targeting the Beavers boats as well.
Yeah, it's remarkable. You're seeing now, and the Alcoholic is doing what I was just about to suggest that they should do, which is pull out. You know, these ships, they do have some resources that they can use right off the bat from the start to repair their ships. But interestingly, the boarding action and the aggressive action from the gunboats and rocket boats, sorry, of the Beavers is doing a lot of work against that Corvette. Now, what is
Yes.
HP looking like on Nemo's Ghost right now? Because it is
Well,
looking rough,
it's
in my view.
it's about half health right now. The rest of the fleet are barely taking a scratch. But yeah, getting demasted the way it has done. The crew are still very much alive. They're able to try and take a hold of this situation still. But now one of the rocket boats have managed to slip past the Corvette and is now pursuing the main fleet. I don't know if they'll manage to get anyone on board or if that's the plan.
Let's get a
But yeah, they
nice look
must be
at
very
that.
aware of it now.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing that's rare in this new type of gameplay that we're able to see uh, the battle kind of slow down a little bit, and we have a bit better ability to take in what's happening. You know, last
Yeah.
week in your match, everything was so mobile, so quick. Unfortunately, there were things that we missed. We got some great fire coming out of the Corvettes, but I think we should make mention that the Corvettes also do actually not count towards the victory condition. So, for those of you watching who aren't aware, the idea is that these teams need to sink the other team's capital ships, meaning all 17 guns and as many, or just as many of the enemy's ships as possible in terms of the 8-gun schooners as well as the 17 guns. And that's how you win. So if you have more ships alive in that respect at the end of the match than they do, then great, you win. But there's also the component of points too. So if you're an opponent, if your opponent is very good and you're just not sure you're going to win against them, or you're convinced you cannot win against them, you can still do a lot of damage and help yourself in the standings, as we saw earlier. and that would absolutely give you an edge over some of the other teams later on in the league, um, in the season. Did you expect this to come to kind of like a halt here, at this corner?
No, not at all. I mean, I would never engage the Leviathans at this type of game. This is where they really excel. You know, just sitting in the water, relying on their gunners to do their jobs, which they do very well. I would never have gone for this play if I was the enemy team, if I was the Beavers right now. But
Yeah,
no, I
and
just want to mention the
w-
Beavers lost their Corvette a little
we
while ago, and the Beavers lost their 17 gun, and
70
the
gun.
Leviathans have lost their Corvette.
So now there's a decision for the Beavers to make. We can see that they finally pulled out one of their 8 guns. I think it was the alcoholic, actually. So rather than just holding to repair, it's getting back in there. It's trying to do some damage. Um, I think they need to cut their loss and move forward, take those supplies from their down 17 gun. Uh, Unfortunately, I think you're right. The Leviathans are known for this kind of gameplay where they just will use their superior individual skill to outmatch their enemy. I don't see a lot of captain orders being used. The way you would identify that is the red trails on these cannon shots. But
Yeah.
Highlander's Pride is just sticking in there, does not want to leave.
Yeah. Well, do you know, they've done a fantastic job rounding up the resources of the sunken vessels. One of the gunboats dropped 3 crates of resources, and it was eaten up very quickly. And then some of the flagships and the 8 guns have sent rowboats to collect the resources of the friendly corvette. But the Aquaholic did manage to get some of the resources, so it will have some ability to repair, but it's currently in hot pursuit from the Leviathan's boats, which are doing a tremendous job, not just sinking the gunboats from earlier, but now focusing down this 8 gun. It's spectacular to see.
Yeah, and I wish that they had done this sooner because now you can see that the Leviathans have to choose their targets, right? They have to choose which side they're going to fire on. Maybe
Yeah.
they've got enough crew to address both, but can you imagine if that Corvette, the Holy Jurgen, got in there and gotten way closer? The amount of damage it could do, the kind of chaos it could sow against these 17 guns that were doing a lot of damage to the fleet. So right now, unfortunately, HP wise, we've got half health on that remaining 17 gun, the Royal Goat. We've got half health on the Highlander's Pride, and the Remnant's Revenge is almost unscathed, but now it's going to be the target of all those ships that are remaining on the Leviathan side. So all these engagements from the uh, Beavers have kind of been at their disadvantage. Um, I guess they were just trying to feel it out a little bit to see how these matches would go, but I think Charney probably should have, you know, resorted to his prior instincts in leagues that came before and just get in there and really try to do some damage early on. Even if you can't get on the ships, um, put that Corvette in there. It's still got most of its HP, so it
Yeah.
can absolutely afford to get in there and do some damage.
Yeah, I absolutely
Oh,
agree. The Corvette sort of a little bit underutilized in my opinion. But the Beavers just lost their 8 gun.
another, yeah, the
Yeah.
alcoholic just went down. It's
Hmm.
a tough spot to be in. It's not over, of course. They still got 3 of their capital ships and almost a uh, full HP Corvette. But now that Corvette is critically on its own for the most part. I mean, it is supported by 2 gunboats, um, but what remains to be seen here is how they're going to survive against those other ships coming in from Leviathans. If I were them, I'd pull out and regroup. It. No, this is not a foregone conclusion in terms of the match. They could
No.
absolutely still do a lot of damage. We've seen this in the previous match how that those things can hold on and really cause a mess. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're the Leviathans, how are you feeling right now? Are you feeling good?
Yeah, I'd be feeling on top of the world right now. Sinking of a 17 gun, sinking of an 8 gun, 2 boats down the depths of the ocean. I'd be feeling really good. I'd just be wondering what am I having for tea later on.
Oh my goodness. Well, honestly, you're probably right about that. In fact, they might be having their tea right now. But knowing this team, seeing that they have been defeated before, they might be a little bit careful in counting their chickens before they've hatched, especially against a team that is new. You haven't really seen what they've done yet. What we've seen so far might be just basically inexperienced gunners. When you're lined up in a line like that between two teams and you're firing, it really does come down to who are the better gunners, not necessarily who is the better admiral. And Charlie has shown that he has been able to defeat other teams before. So I'm hoping to see
Yeah.
them pull something out here. Currently, the Beavers are moving towards the southwest. They are regrouping. It seems that they might not have enough supplies to rebuild the front of their. Oh, and just as I say that, they just did that. So it's looking like they're going to be able to re-engage the enemy. They've got some good HP on those 8 guns. They just need to find a way to stop the Leviathans from run away with this one.
Yeah. What I really like what the Leviathans did is they prioritized repairs. So 3 8 guns sailed past the crates of resources. They didn't bother getting them because they're all at pretty good HP. But they prioritized the 17 gun. It is the lowest of the fleet as well. So they knew what they were doing, and now the 17 gun can begin for some really heavy repairs. They are refitting at sea, which some of you may know as a Master and Commander reference. So they're currently chasing down the Corvette, and there is some heavy fire, raining down on the Corvette as it's trying to escape. But the great
Yeah.
thing is about the Age of Sail is you're not safe. No matter how far away you are, as soon as the fleet has the wind, they've wet their sails, they can chase you down very quickly.
Unfortunately for Gummo 4, captained by Lord Olo from the Beavers, he has seemed to have fallen into a trap where 2 of the enemy 8 guns, the Leviathans, are now firing at them along with the 17 guns. So I really would have liked to see a little bit more coordination between those 2 types of ships, the gunboats and the capital ships from the Beavers. However, um, it does help to kind of keep the enemy on edge if they think that they're going to get hit from behind. But to be honest, from what I've seen over the past couple of weeks, the gunboats unsupported are just a vessel that is going to give free supplies, free points, and free kills to the
Yeah.
enemy team if they're not supported in a way that makes sense.
Exactly. I've said throughout these first 4 games, the Corvette is one of the best ships currently on the naval battlefield, but I think that you shouldn't use it like it's not got a life to spare, because when you're not using it all, it becomes a problem. And I think this is something the Beavers should look at, and how they can utilize the Corvette more in their games. Keep it with the boats. Keep it as a rear guard if you must. But remember how versatile it is and how powerful it is. As soon as you give that captain order to fire, and you've got the buff, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the same cannon that's on the 8 gun schooners. Now, the 8 gun schooner, unfortunately, was nerfed a little bit in terms of its ability to do damage and its range, excessively so compared to the 17 gun. However, they're great for boarding, and now we see a bit of a what I was hoping was going to be more of a blocking action. And the Royal Goat, unfortunately, just does not have enough supplies to heal past the quarter mark, and it's going down very quickly. That thing should be way further away than its 8 guns, and the 8 guns should be moving in and causing more chaos because it's just going to get targeted. If you were to move your 8 guns in a little bit more, it's going to make the Leviathans more uncomfortable because now they have to contend with potentially cannons getting exploded at closer range.
Yeah.
And we also see the whole Jurgen, the Corvette's just kind of sitting there doing not a whole lot because it doesn't know what to do.
It's
But
sort of just floating around like a lifeboat, isn't it? Trying to collect fallen sailors.
yeah, it doesn't even have to worry about the Leviathan's Corvette because that was taken out a good long time ago. So it basically has it's the only type of beast of its nature on this field, and it looks like it might be trying to regroup with its gunboats to support them, but it's just ringing around the rosy over there, game of tag. Um, Okay.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I didn't get a chance to see what the gunboats were doing, and they really are doing some nice circles around the
Yeah.
island.
And just as I said it, the target concentration on that 17 gun, the Royal Goat, has taken it down. We
Wow.
are moving into the probably end stages of this match here with just over 11 minutes left in it, should the timer be the determinant of the victor. I personally don't see that happening here, as the Highlanders' Pride just lost all of its sails and also its ability to get out of danger, while the Remnant's Revenge is just chilling.
Yeah, and they've managed the Leviathans have redirected two of their 8-gun schooners to target that corvette, stop it from doing any major damage to the 17-gun flagships. But every ship of the Leviathans, when that 17-gun was being targeted, was targeted by Leviathans. There was not one single cannon, besides the boats, that weren't trained on that 17-gun, and that's something Leviathans do really well. If Lemerck, the admiral, gives the order to fire on this ship, everyone is firing on that ship.
And that's the key thing here. It seems like I mentioned this earlier, but it seemed that there was not a whole lot of coordination on which ships to fire on. We even see that the gunboats from the Beavers right now are just kind of sailing past ships that are actively firing and destroying the Holy Jurgen, their corvette. They could have absolutely gone in there, done some damage. The melee aspect of the game is actually a lot more lucrative this time around because of the boarding action and the ability to just stop people from firing. So if you're not on your cannons firing, you can't kill the enemy ships. If you can't kill the enemy ships, well, I mean, that gives them a great ability to continue using other assets that they have available.
Yeah.
It looks like we do have a gunboat violation from the team here. I don't recall which one that was. But the Beavers apparently took out one more small boat than they were supposed to. You should only be able to have two out at any given time unless you've captured an enemy gunboat. Uh, but it's looking like another ship is going down there. So
Yeah, that was the corvette, the
yeah, the
Beavers
Corvette.
corvette.
Yeah, the Holy Jurgen has just gone down. So, valiant last stand from them. They did a lot of damage. If I had to guess, they did a lot of damage on their team. And unfortunately, they just did not get utilized in the fashion that they probably should have been. And this is what I was talking about earlier on in the match. The teams are still trying to figure out the best way to do it, and I was hoping that by this point in time, some of the teams would have watched the old matches that have already happened and devised maybe some new tactics. But we've just kind of seen a very kind of long range traditional NSL line combat here, which we saw a lot in previous seasons. And I guess those tactics of getting close and creating a mess out of the situation, which we have been in the past used to seeing from Charney, just did not
Yeah.
occur today.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, Amit, what is the HP of that 8-gun? Because that is the last ship that needs to sink.
So I'm interested. So just to answer your question, it's very quickly going down now, but it's pretty much full HP. It was about probably 95% HP just when you started to ask that question. I think when the Beavers watch back this footage and they see the views and they see the HP values and maybe watch their own footage, they might have something to say about the Remnants of Revenge having such a lot of HP, whereas their own ships did not, like the other ships didn't. They were very much in the combat. My personal feeling is that the Remnants Revenge hasn't done a whole lot to support their team, especially when they were just over at the Lighthouse Island at the northwest. The Highlanders' Pride was just getting absolutely destroyed, while Remnants Revenge was kind of just unfortunately sitting there, not doing a whole lot to even kind of help. I'm not going to make any suggestions one way or another about if that was intentional or not. Perhaps they were ordered to do that. I don't know, but just that's my kind of feeling here. So we're pretty much coming down to the final moments of this battle. There's just under 7 minutes left in it, but Remnant's Revenge is going to be filled with a bunch of people on it.
Yeah.
Putting back out some fire. And we do have the gunboats, of course, from Beavers.
Yeah, they're the Beavers gunboat is sort of staying very close to the 8 gun. I mean, if this was a line battle right now, I think the admin would have given the command to charge or slay. It's getting to that all charge type of game, and I think every captain on the Leviathans is fighting to claim glory of taking down that last 8 gun, the Remnant's Revenge. That every ship is in full interception mode right now.
Indeed. And we know that from the Leviathans. Their kind of doctrine, their mindset is they like to have very independent captains. We've seen in previous seasons where captains would just kind of their own accord make very decisive actions to tie up enemy assets. In this case, they honestly, like you said, they are just sitting back, having a couple of crumpets while they're enjoying their tea. So, very, very comfortable gameplay for them. If they were really worried, I really feel like we would have seen a little bit more aggression, a couple more non-standard plays from them. But yeah, it seems that these withering fire from the 17 gun, the Sovereign, Lemerc's ship, he himself is on there commanding this ship. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of minutes now.
Yeah, and I think he's trying to get it into a position where he can deliver a nice full broadside onto the 8 gun, and the 8 gun is looking for a space to get some sanctuary from all these cannonballs right now. You know, the crew they look sort of a little bit worried that their fate is near, and yeah, I think the gunboat should probably try and do some boarding action of some sort, and the Leviathan's gunboats they should get in as close as they can and start racking up some points for Leviathans while they can. It sounds terrible to say, but at this point, it's all about points, isn't it?
I suppose. I mean, like, if the Leviathans want to take that top spot in the leaderboard and chuck you down to second place, this is exactly what they're going to need to do. We can see the tail chaser has been chasing that group there, and that appears to be it. That ship, I do not see HP on it anymore, so that should be the end
Yeah,
of the match there.
it
Um,
is sunken.
so let me give credit where credit is due. The Beavers came in here as mostly a new team. As far as I'm aware, there's only a few from the 9PP that are contributing to this team. And they're going up against what is widely considered going to be the toughest team to fight against in all of the league. It was certainly the case in season one, certainly the case in preseason of the NSL, and all of the leagues that came before that. We did have the XNL back in 2023, 2024, I believe. So all right, let's zoom out, do a macro look at this. Where did it all go so right for the Leviathans and so wrong for the Beavers? Tell me what you saw, Kieran.
Well, I think that it went wrong when the Beavers thought they could go toe to toe gunnery against Leviathans. I know it's doable, but it's a very hard thing to overcome. And getting to to the end of the map and to that dreaded wall, I think that's where things started to go terribly wrong. You know, the Leviathans are fantastic at ship coordination and ship targeting, and that's what you can't allow them to do. Is get in a position where every single vessel for the Leviathans are trained on your ships, and it's just it's heat-seeking missile after heat-seeking missile at that point.
I like how you put it that way. I mean, the individual skill and the practice and it's more the attitude, I think, is what allows them to prevail. It's not because there's anything supremely special about them. They're just extremely dedicated to their craft, which is having excellent coordination between their deck officers and their gunners and making those adjustments. And I know that other teams do that as well, but I guess it's the technique. One of my own regiment members, Lucius, has in the past merked with them, and he has provided a lot of insight to us about how they operate, and even the people themselves. We've spoken to some of the captains over there and the deck officers, like Shadow. for example, have provided us some very gracious insight into how that has worked. And you hit the nail on the head when you said that they're going toe to toe with one of the best groups that has ever existed. And, given that a lot of the people in the Beavers are kind of newer to the concept of naval, and even if they're not, I know there are some people who attend weekly events, perhaps they're not as dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Are. Uh, the X, and I should say the 27th KG, which is their a team that is now, or sorry, a regiment that is joining them for the league here, which is great to see. Um, they are just so good at what they do, but they might be a little bit more intense with their training than perhaps some of these other groups in the Beavers, because they are mainly line or land-based regiments. We've got the 92nd. That's a to my knowledge, that's a Highlander regiment. Then we've got the 70th, and prior to that, the 23rd. I didn't know about the 23rd, and I know that the 9PP are very naval focused as well. So they're really the ones who knew what they were coming into, and I don't know if the rest of the team has looked at the videos before to kind of see and understand what kind of challenge they were up against. And I kind of hope in a way that they did not, so that they didn't get discouraged. But once again, I think you're right. I think they could do very well in the future, and they're absolutely going to improve. All of us used to be there at one point, starting out as a casual group in the SCP-38, just us and the NR-22, just kind of sister regiments together, and we slowly grew into something that has become, I guess, what you could consider a professional team. So
Yeah, definitely.
we've got a few folks joining us here today for the interviews. We've got Charney from the Beavers, and we will have Lemerck for the Leviathans as well. Lemerck, let's start with you as the victor. Tell us how you're feeling and how you felt going into this match. What did you do to prepare? Congrats on your victory, by the way.
Thank you very much. I feel very happy and very proud of my crew. We have been practicing quite a bit over these last few weeks. I've had some great meetings with the big brains behind our strategy, and we were very well prepared for the dangers of what could come today. And it ended up being more of a ranged artillery battle than I had ever expected, which I believe really played to our strengths. And I was very happy with the result. Really can't ask for more. So I'm pretty happy, and I'm very, very honored to fight a team like the Beavers, who necessitate such meticulous planning ahead of time, because they are the team, especially last season, who could shock the teams at the top of the leaderboard multiple times. And so we did not take this as a easy battle. We took this as a battle that would be difficult and would stress us at our weak points, and we were ready for it, and we're very happy with the results.
Yeah, that's good
Well,
to hear.
fantastic game, Lamarck. No, it was very boring. Uh, no, it was brilliant. It was brilliant to watch both teams fighting it out on the naval planes, and you did great work with the fleet coordination as always, and your gunnery was on point. Your captains must have an extra ration of rum to celebrate, of course.
Oh, wow.
But I just wanted to ask, you said that you always plan to fight against a hard opponent, or not hard, but you must plan a lot in advance. I want to know what type of planning goes into these types of things, without revealing too much about the inner workings of the Leviathans, but what type of planning goes into it?
I think I'm happy to reveal a little bit. So, for us, my belief this season and in this age of sale is that organization is going to trump any other consideration when it comes to how these battles are going to play out. Last season we saw a very strong, especially towards the tail end of the season, this focus on destroying enemy cannons, and so that, I think, made the focus on precision artillery, hitting not just the ship, but the exact spot on the ship where you could destroy a cannon and forever reduce the enemy's ability to fire back from that cannon. That is a long past reality at this point. Instead, I think it's about the flexibility to react to situations. And so when we were drilling our crews, it was about chain of command. It was about how to hear an order and hop to very quickly. It was about who is able to command the crew to do what, to subdivide those different responsibilities, and so that our ships were as reactive as possible to changing circumstances. So for us, that was it. When I talk to my captains, it's all about having pre-planned ways of moving around the battlefield, so that again, just like the crews are reactive to those smaller microcosm circumstances, on the macro level, the fleet is able to immediately pivot to new objectives or a strategic focus as we need, or I guess a tactical focus as we need. So that's really what our priorities are in our training, is getting the crew ready for that. So by the time they get to the battle, there's not really any question. Somebody says something, you've practiced it, you know how to do it, and then you execute it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mark. I also want to congratulate the Admiral Carney Liz. You played a fantastic game. You are certainly no stranger to the NSL, and absolute commiserations on the defeat. But it is the first game for all of us, and it's especially a tough game against Leviathans. I want to pose the same question to yourself and your team. How do you plan for a game against the Leviathans, or how do you plan in general for a game in the NSL?
Okay, maybe hello everyone. Uh,
Welcome.
my English is not too good, so Matthew say today.
Sure thing. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, hello, Matthew.
Hello. Yeah, I'm here to do some of the interviewing. Sorry, would you mind asking the question again, just so I can have a bit more
Yeah.
clarification? Thanks.
So yourself and the Beavers. I just want to know, how do you plan against such a formidable foe, the Leviathans, and generally, how did you plan for the NSL?
Oh yeah, totally. Well, as you can probably imagine, as you've seen, we're quite a mixed bag of regiments. We've obviously the 9PP's have been here before, and the rest of us are quite new to it. So a lot of what we've been doing so far has been working around the problems of new people to it, and so I think we were mostly using this match as sort of a a learning experience. So obviously we weren't expecting much against the best naval regiment possibly in the game, and so most of our training was devoted to getting everybody used to just the commands. We're simple tactical doctrine, how different formations, line abreast, line astern, and how to move about the battle, and most of it's just down to gunnery. And I think our gunnery worked well, to be honest. Obviously, it's difficult to rival what's the name, the Leviathans, but I think we did all right, with our guns. That's a lot. It's all a learning curve, really, and most of our training is now going to be focused on what tactical doctrine works best for us. We've worked out, we've got the basics down, and we just need to work out how now we're going to move on to playing our own game and finding what works best for us.
Yeah, I was very impressed by what I saw in terms of the composure of your team. The formation was quite good throughout the match. Granted, there wasn't a lot of high stakes, close up engagements to really determine, how well that how well you could regroup. And we've seen this in previous matches where some teams are really good at like getting there, get a mess, and then pull out again and regroup and rearm and take it back to the enemy. But you guys, throughout the entire match, it was mostly a long range match, kept it together quite well, and I was impressed by that. I'm sure that is some of that credit must go to Charney as well as the captains who were, listening to the orders. When you go into matches like these, do you have to do any sort of morale preparation for your members? Do you have anything you say to them going into your first match? And how you manage that kind of perception of the outcome?
I mean, to be fair, I'd like to say yes, but it was a fairly hastily thrown together group of people. We were coming in from different events here and there, so I think most of it was more of a down to this is just we're going in, do the best we can. We're just gonna just do what we can. We're not expecting to do okay, maybe, but most of it's down to just do the best you can, fire your shots out. The captains are just going to do what they can to stick together. A lot of it's just due to formations, and that's what we've been working on the most with our captains, just keeping formation, keeping together, and keeping composure. And so most of the men have just been the most we've drilled into them is that just do your best you can, really.
Indeed. And that's one of the greatest things I think piece of advice people could give each other in the league, and we've seen other teams do this. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. I was mentioning this towards the end of the match there, where my own team, the Hydras, we started out as a small group. We lost a lot of matches, probably our first 3 matches in the preseason of the NSL, and we learned and we changed and we became a little bit better. Had a real chance to get towards the top of the leaderboard, although it didn't happen in the preseason. And then from there, we, you know, found a synergy between our groups, and now I think we're probably one of the most competitive ones. So I expect to see some good changes from you guys coming forward.
I'd
So
like
we're
to
going to
think
move
so.
on quickly, and I just want to get. I'll ask each of the admirals individually. We'll start with the Leviathans. Lemerck, what did you learn today, and what are you going to be taking into your next match or future matches?
You know, there was a worry that the big changes in the Age of Sail might have, blunted the edge of our cannoneering, and so I'm very, really, really proud of the crews to see that they have adapted so well. But you can never slack off on cannon accuracy and the coordination of fire, and so that is going to continue to be our focus, as well as continuously preparing ourselves for the day when it comes, where an enemy tries to close and cross the distance between us. We prepared for that a lot fighting a team like the Beavers, who named themselves after chopping down masts, and so we're waiting for that day to come, and we are as ready. We're going to get more and more ready for it. So that's the takeaway that I want to have here. Even though that didn't happen today, that's still at the forefront of my mind.
Indeed. And Charney and Matthew, how about you? What are you taking into the future matches beyond what you've mentioned just now?
I
If
think
there's one thing you could pinpoint.
I think what we found most important is is the tactical just doctrine we go into it, how we're going to operate in the matches. I feel like we've got the basics nailed out. I think it's just how, what works best for us, how rather, whether we, do as we did today, pretty much a big broadside back match, or whether we engage in close quarters battles. We need to work on most clearly what works best for our crews, where our men's skills lies really, and what makes us different from the rest of the crews that could give us an advantage.
Excellent. Couldn't said it better myself. Okay, so with that, we're going to round out this stream today. I want to thank all of the competitors, the correspondents that helped us get the camera angles, as well as you, the team leaders, for participating. And of course, I cannot forget my co host, Kieran's, and even our director, Dr. Professor. This has been the Naval Sports League, Season 2. Kieran's, what would you like to say to the people before we end off here?
Oh, I should have prepared a nice, funny quote of some sort. Well, I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for watching.
This is Amit, and we are checking off. Thank you.